Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
First seat flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty Boyz brawling, no holds barred loud. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman? One more, you know what I mean?
Tune in the vibe.
Gardi on the mic tonight. News coming in left and right. Oh, better with the latest fight. Jeans got the insight sight. Champions rise and they fall. Wire to wire, got it all. Every move in every brawl. Tune in for the curtain call. Wrestling talk all night long. Catch the latest match and song. Ring the bell, let's get it on. Every story bright and strong. In the ring they clash and roar. New rivalries and so much more. Titles change and legends lore.
What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Gardi3, and welcome to the Meaty Boyz Podcast. Of course, joining me just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time. He is Mo Betta. How you doing, Mo?
Hey, what's good, Brett? What's good, everybody? It's Tuesday night. Meaty Boyz getting ready to do that thing and talk about wrestling. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. So, I figure we'll get right into it. Saturday was a great day for wrestling. We now had one pay-per-view to watch. We had 2. And, normally I say save the best for last, but why don't we save the best for first? Mo, AEW All Out happened, and it was a fantastic show. I absolutely loved it. I'm just curious, what were your overall thoughts on AEW All Out from this past Saturday?
My overall thoughts is that AEW continues to just keep putting out really good, entertaining cards. I don't think a wrestling fan goes to an AEW event and feels like they're being cheated at all. And look, they're just certain names, certain wrestlers. For me, my favorite wrestler in AEW, I've been that way from the gate, is Toni Storm. Her match was an amazing match. So, yeah, I just think AEW is hitting on all cylinders. They up the ante, and I think WWE needs to step their game up.
No, absolutely. By the way, I said I was going to do this yesterday on the morning show, so I did it. I'm posting in the comments real quick, and this is my AEW. I ranked every match from, in my opinion, worst to best. But the funny part about this, right, even the worst match on here, which I thought it was Eddie Kingston versus Big Bill, it was still a lot of fun. And that's kind of the thing I love about AEW, especially their pay-per-views. Even like the matches, they have a little bit of something for everybody. It's great seeing Eddie back. You want So you want some hardcore? They had MJF Briscoe in a tables and tacks match. You want technical wrestling? Oh my gosh, did Hangman vs. Fletcher ever deliver with a little bit of tables involved? The women always deliver. Mercedes versus Rio, ton of fun. Women's Fatal 4-Way. And they also delivered on such great moments too. We had obviously they caught us off guard. One of the biggest surprises of the weekend, Toni Storm losing her title to Chris Statlander. I don't think anybody had her losing it on Saturday, so I'm happy for Statlander. That was genuinely quite the surprise, and at this point, she deserves it. So it was a fun match, and that was a great moment.
It was. I love the way you gave her flowers, because sometimes you can kind of see something coming from a mile away. I did not see this coming. I didn't. And look, the way it happened, the kind of match that it was, as a fan, I love it. I love it. And let's keep it a buck. If you know Toni Storm, like I know Toni Storm, she's not worried about it. She'll be champ again.
No, absolutely. And you had a couple big one big debut and one return and reunion. The big return we had is after the ladder match. We had the return of Jack Perry to confront the Young Bucks, who he didn't come alone. We have a reunited Jurassic Express, which one of my favorite moments from that entire show was watching the crowd reaction when the old Jurassic Express music started playing. The crowd went crazy for it. And that's just what you love to see. Luchasaurus saved Jack Perry from the Young Bucks. They gave a hug. The Jurassic Express music started playing, and the crowd went nuts. I absolutely loved everything about the return of Jack Perry.
They did a lot of really good surprises and comebacks, and the timing was perfect. And I felt like every time the crowd started relaxing, there was another moment to get them fired up again. Like that pay-per-view kept the crowd amped up for the entirety of the pay-per-view. Well done, AEW. Well done.
Absolutely. And of course, the big debut, we saw the debut of Beth Phoenix, who went by the name of Beth Copeland in the opening match, which they even surprise us with that, right? You're so used to seeing the big, debut, and they come in and they have this great feel-good moment. Well, she did help Christian and Cope win the match, and then she got taken out with a spike pile driver from FTR. Genuinely didn't see that coming. That's just not normally what a wrestling company does with a big debut like that. So credit to them for just mixing it up and completely catching us off guard. And it's clear that rivalry is far from over.
Oh, facts. Beth Phoenix, aka Beth Copeland. Honestly, I thought she was retired. So it was an amazing thing to see her come back, and I thought she looked great.
Absolutely. I loved it when she came out, took out Stokely, and then just picked him up and just casually walked him to the back.
Right.
She's still as strong as ever. She looked great. So, but yeah, all the credit in the world. The one match that, I really felt sorry for, man, having to ref a tables and tacks match, I felt so bad for Bryce Rensburg. Having to try to go down and count the pin with thumbtacks all over the ring.
Right.
I felt so bad for the poor ref having to be the official for that match. He must have made somebody mad backstage because oof.
If you're a ref and you're going to be reffing that type of match, if I'm a ref, I'm basically dressing up like a hockey player. You know what I mean? I'm going to protect myself in that way.
No, absolutely. And yeah, they capped it off. They cap it off, and this is where the counter programming started. Like I said, we have this great card, and during the main event of All Out, we get the start of WrestlePalooza. And Mo, it was so funny when they announced that Brock Lesnar versus John Cena was going to be the opening match. I almost died of laughter because, Mo, me and you called this. We're like, this isn't going to be a good match. What are you counter-programming? Why is this the match? You knew it's because of the star power. And while Hangman and Kyle Fletcher had the best match of the weekend, I think it was, they had the best match of the weekend. I think you can make an argument between Briscoe MJF or Stephanie Vakir and Io Sky for having the next best match.
Yeah.
Man, watching split screen of those two and Brock and Cena going at it was rough. Like, I would look at the Brock and Cena match and I'd be incredibly sad because it was slow and it was boring and plotting. And then I'd almost just have to look back for a hit of dopamine from Fletcher and Hangman. And it just got to a point where I just started watching the Fletcher and Hangman match. So I'm glad AEW killed it, but unfortunately, that leads us in to WrestlePalooza. And I did rank the matches for WrestlePalooza 2, Mo. And I'm sure you can guess what was the worst match of the night. It was.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It was indeed the opening match. I don't know how else to say it, Mo. That was terrible. Like, to put it nicely, that was awful.
I think you're being nice. We talked about this a little bit. Look, we've seen that match before. When Brock Lesnar ran through Cena and whitewashed him. We saw it over a decade ago. Why did we need to see it again? Like, if you're going to have this match and you know that John Cena's on his retirement tour, you got to give me something better than that. You can shorten the match. You can make it into like a brawl, whatever you want to do, but you got to give me something better than what you gave me a decade ago. And they actually found a way to make it worse.
They're like, hey, you guys like that SummerSlam 2014 match? Yeah, here's the worst version of that. Nothing about it made sense, right? Like, you squashed Cena, and for what? It was so funny because a report comes out today, Mo, that they're like, oh, John Cena just wants to put people over and help out the, up and coming talent. And I'm just like, so your idea of helping the up and coming talent is to have them get squashed by 48-year-old part-time Brock Lesnar. You see, Mo, when I had booked the John Cena retirement tour, fantasy booked it at the beginning of it,
right.
I actually had John Cena getting squashed during it. But my idea was him getting squashed by Gunther at WrestleMania, leading to a whole Rocky 3 underdog story going into SummerSlam. See, I think that would have made sense because at least you can go, Gunther's part of the future. This kind of works, actually.
That makes sense because Gunther is younger. He's basically just hitting his prime. You can see where he would be dominant over Cena, how he could wear Cena down. That made more sense than, like you said, don't tell me about you're putting over younger talent. Lesnar's not a new talent. He's an older talent on the other side of his prime. That doesn't make sense because, like you told me, the news is they're not going to wrestle again. That was just some weird one-off that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, and honestly, that match just completely... Let me put it this way. I was so unexcited when Lesnar came back in the first place. SummerSlam, I audibly moaned when he went out to confront Cena because I was like, I don't really need Brock Lesnar in 2025. In that match, if there was any semblance of wanting to see Brock Lesnar again, that killed it for me because it's the same thing. His gimmick was tired 5 years ago, and here we are, and he's running the same thing. Oh, I'm going to come. I get it. He's supposed to be just a no-nonsense, butt kicker. But he's not an entertaining one. The match is was just so like bland, by the numbers, boring that it's just so shameful that this is how they booked the John Cena retirement tour. Like, John Cena gives you his all for 25 years, and you repay him by just mucking up his retirement tour at every turn. And, okay, the funny part is, I thought his heel run, actually, I thought it was a lot more fun than people get a bit credit for, but that being said, you muck it up by, including Travis Scott in the beginning. And now, guess what? We're finally getting rid of that stink. He has an absolute banger with Cody. Just for us to muck it up again by introducing Brock, and then him and Brock having the worst one-off. John Cena will go down as the greatest of all time, no doubt, but this retirement tour, as I will admit, has had its moments. You can't tell me that they could have done better than this. I feel like you could have picked anybody on the internet to book this a lot better than what Triple H and company has done.
No, I agree. I would have liked to see Cena maybe against Randy Orton, or it's somebody on his actual bucket list. Somebody at some point, Triple H has got to do an interview and explain to me the concept of bringing Lesnar back. One, which I didn't want. Two, why make it seem like it's the beginning of some kind of back and forth between he and Cena, when in fact it's just an odd one-off match that wasn't an entertaining match. It didn't make any sense. And to me, what do you do with Brock Lesnar going forward?
Well, that's the scary part, because they like to, when it comes to him, they like to put him in the title picture, but I really have no interest. I have no interest in seeing him in the title picture. Either champion, I've seen Brock versus Seth. That I don't need to run it back for the 5th time. I've seen Brock and Cody. I don't need to run that back for the 4th time. So I know what they're thinking. They're probably already thinking world championship picture, but I genuinely hope they, don't do that. I kind of hope they just send him home back to Canada and leave him there. But
I'm okay with that idea. But if they're not going to do that, there is a job that he can occupy if you have to have him around. Because I was thinking about this. And obviously, his relationship with Paul Heyman. You could have him join the Vision, but obviously not competing for the title, being part of it. Or I guess he could compete for I don't want to call it a lesser title, but there are lesser titles when you're going IC or US Championship. Or he could just be another enforcer. It would be weird though, that idea, because the thing with the Vision isn't Bronson Reed, isn't Braun Breaker, aren't they both enforcers already? I don't know if you could have a faction with everybody's an enforcer other than Seth Rollins.
Yeah, if I'm realistically trying to book Lesnar, I'm probably using him. I doubt he has, a lot of time left that he's going to wrestle either. I think you just kind of use him to make the next generation of monsters. Okay, guess what? Maybe, they're probably not going to have him lose his next match either. I don't know. Maybe put him against somebody that he can, get a nice dominant victory over, and then have him lose to Jacob Fatu, then maybe have him win a couple more matches, then have him lose to Gunther. I think it's really important if you're trying to build up these monsters. If I wouldn't just have them outright lose to Gunther and then Fatu right back to back, because I think it's important to get quality wins in there. But yeah, I would kind of use them to build up the next generation of no nonsense, butt kickers. And the first 2 names that come to mind are Gunther and Jacob Fatu.
I do if you're going to bring him in there, to me there's a lane. And I like the lane that would lead towards Jacob Fatu and Gunther, because they're big stature wrestlers as well. Now, Gunther's not as big as the other two, but in terms of his height and his ability, he would be a good matchup for either. So I kind of like that. I had a friend tell me he thinks the ultimate plan is for everybody to think that Lesnar's going to join the Vision, when in fact the person that's going to be part of the Vision is going to be Jey Uso.
Jey Uso.
This is not my idea. This is, and I thought about it, and I'm like, well, they did help him against LA Knight, and Jay clearly is going to turn heel. It's like the worst kept secret. You can see it from a mile away. He's going to turn heel. So if he's going to turn heel, who is he going to align himself with? So I don't know if it's a complete reach.
I would almost.
So this is what my friend said. Jey Uso joins the Vision, but if you join the Vision, somebody's got to be the fall guy. And he says the person they're going to make the fall guy, this is his thinking, is it's going to be Braun Breaker. And Braun Breaker is going to become a face.
I think that would be interesting. If he's going to turn heel, I'd almost rather just turn Jimmy heel too and just have another heel Usos run.
I'd rather, see, that's what I'm going at. I don't want it to be where Jay turns heel, but then because you and I both know what we don't want. We don't want to see Jay and Jimmy in a ring against each other. I don't want to see that again. So if Jay is going to be heel, I hope that Jimmy comes along for the ride, because if the Usos are heels, look, they can win the belts as faces, but I guarantee you they win the belts as heels.
No, absolutely. And I still think I think that's almost like perfect for them to come in and save the Raw Tag Team division. New Day running that angle where the Raw Tag Team division is dead. I think the New Day is the perfect team to save it. The Usos.
I was going to say, the New Day they're actually the ones that are helping hurt it. they need to chill.
Yeah. Say the Usos versus the Vision was a fine match. It just got cut short, obviously, because Jay got himself busted open early.
Right.
I thought that was like a fun sprint. It was a good TV match. It's not a match that it's a match that if I think about it in the lens of would it be worth paying money for? No. But hey, you know what? It's like a fun TV style match. I think they could have really hit another gear, but then obviously they had to shift because of the Jay injury.
Yeah, I actually agree. They don't have to do it right away, but I would not have a problem with the Usos running back versus the Vision. Now, again, if my friend is correct, then maybe Jay even turns on Jimmy. I mean, I do feel obviously Jay's going to be a heel. Their only question is he going to align himself with somebody else? Because he is one of the bigger stars in WWE. It doesn't really make sense for him to just be a heel and kind of plot out there by himself. So I gave my friends thinking a little bit of thought and go, that's true. I don't know if he joins the Vision, but I do think that Jay's going to align himself with someone else.
No, absolutely. By the way, I'm not going in the actual match order of the card. I'm kind of going in my order of worst to best matches. We had the match to me, like those two, after those two, the next best match of the night, to me it came down to either the mixed tag team match or the Cody versus Drew match. And honestly, I gave the mixed tag team match the edge over Cody and Drew. I think they were both about the same level of match. I think what kind of hurt the Cody and Drew match, I think it was, once again, it was a fine TV match, but it's just kind of the inconsistent storytelling they were pulling off. Like, Cody Rhodes has a concussion, which didn't really factor into the end of the match, and he played it off to an extent, but it didn't really factor into the match. And there was well, we're going to have a match with no outside interference, but to make up for that, the ref's just going to keep getting in the way over and over again. And then obviously that's just kind of the little things that bother me. Overall, though, it was a solid match altogether. It was a lot of fun. Drew sold that leg injury really well at the end.
I thought it was an entertaining match. could those two guys go to another level and crank it up? Yeah, no doubt. I don't think it's their best work, but I thought it was solid. I'm judging it on the premise that it's a pay-per-view, right? And because it's a pay-per-view, if I'm choosing, I'm with you, I would take the mixed tag ahead of that match.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it was kind of disappointing. I know this was kind of an expectations that fans set for it, but I don't know. I think a lot of people are expecting like a big return after the main event because, this is the problem with doing what Triple H did. I had a problem with Triple H promoting this event the way he did because he's like, there are going to be a lot of surprises. And when you do that, you start getting people's expectations up. Now they're expecting, okay, who's going to return at the end? Where are all of our surprises? Which it turns out there was really only one surprise, two if you want Paul Heyman introducing Brock, Undertaker coming out in the middle of the show to do the Stephanie Hall of Fame introduction. But like when you start talking surprises, like I think people are expecting more. So I think that going forward, I think Triple H and company, they just got to like focus on promoting the show, because don't be promoting a surprise and then not really deliver a good surprise.
Agreed. I think he oversold it. And look, he's still getting his footing. He's done a lot of things right. I would just say that this pay-per-view was kind of mediocre. That just means they need to up the ante heading into the next pay-per-view. Better storylines, better matches. I have all the faith in the world when it comes to the ladies, because the ladies don't disappoint.
And that is exactly why I went in order from worst match to best, because I wanted to save the best for last. The mixed tag team match, second best match of the night. This was a lot of fun. AJ looked like she looks like she never left the ring. After 10 years, she looked absolutely terrific. Seth and Becky were like the perfect foils and cowardly heels. This was a ton of fun. I love the match. I love the psychology, the tag team work. How they, watching Becky put CM Punk in the sharpshooter was a sight to behold. This was just an absolutely fun match. And AJ countering the manhandle slam into the Black Widow was chef's kiss. Just overall terrific performance by these four competitors. And I'm really looking forward to what's next for AJ.
She looked great. But the way that wrestling is set up, your faces can only look as good as your heels are, right? To set them up to look good. And you're right, man. Look, Becky Lynch was on her A game. Her and her husband, they embraced the psychology of wrestling completely. And you saw it again actually last night when they cut to the scene where they're like backstage and she's mumbling and going on this rant about the Usos, but you love that, right? You love that because you're like, that's why they're together, right? That's why they're a couple. That's why they're a unit. Like, they completely embrace their characters and the psychology of wrestling. So I was entertained by it. And because I'm a big AJ Lee fan, seeing her back in the ring, and you could almost argue she's in better shape now than before. Like, she hasn't missed a beat. I am excited to see what she can do going forward in the women's division, because somewhere down the line, I can see AJ wearing some gold.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, I wouldn't mind seeing a one-on-one match with Becky versus AJ for the Intercontinental Championship.
I think that's coming. I don't know if they're going to put it off, because that might be a match you might want to put off for down the road. But either way, if it happens, I'm here for it.
No, absolutely. It was funny with Becky. Because Bleacher Report, they came out with their 25 greatest women's wrestler list.
I saw that.
And number one was Becky Lynch. And I'm like, oh no, we know what the first promo is. It's not just me saying it. It's Bleacher Report saying it.
That's exactly what you did. Yeah.
And then Mike Michael Cole said it. It's not just her saying it, it's ESPN and Bleacher Report. I'm like, oh, come on, Cole. Say just absolutely terrific work from both of them.
Facts. And I think there's no question she's one of the greatest women's wrestlers. Now, look, selfishly, in my own, if I were to do my own list, I would not have Becky number one, but she would be in my top 5.
No, fair enough. Two ladies who just might end up on a top 25 women's wrestlers of all time list had the best match of the night. Because, oh my word, like, see, to me in this pay-per-view, there's a clear worst match, and everything else was just kind of in the middle. But then there's like a clear best match, and this one just really just outshowed everything. Stephanie versus Io should have been the main event or the mixed tag team match, one of the two. I thought that was clear in day before the pay-per-view main event was announced, but nothing, and I mean nothing, from this pay-per-view held the candle to what Stephanie and Io pulled off. That was magic. I don't know how else to say it, but that was just magic. And probably, it's arguably the best women's match of the year, right up there with that WrestleMania triple threat match. Like,
I was getting ready to say the triple threat match is hard to beat, but that was a great match. Stephanie Vaquer is terrific, but I don't know if Io Sky is capable of being bad in the ring. You know what I mean? Like, Io can make it work with anybody. She's that gifted a talent, sells every move. I'm just a huge Io Sky fan.
Me too. And man, Io, Stephanie Vaquer, I also say it, that was when she went up and she did that
that corkscrew. Ooh.
Yeah, it was like almost a version of AJ Styles' old finisher, the spiral tap, or the red arrow that Neville used to do. Like, that was just absurd. Like, honestly, if you're not putting these women in the main events in the future, like, I don't know what you're doing. Like, let's just change the name of the company. Women Will Entertain. Like, that's how entertained I was.
That's facts. She nailed that move. That was amazing.
Well, yeah, like, I'm gonna be so disappointed going forward that if these women just aren't main eventing, because they absolutely deserve it, and they once again just outshowed the men. I can make a good argument, Mo, that like if we made a top WWE, matches of the year so far, which, obviously the Meaty Boyz Awards show is coming down the road, like, the best match of the year, maybe the top, 2 or 3 just might be women's matches. Stephanie Io, the triple threat at Mania, Rhea Io with the cash in from Naomi. Like,
Rhea Io was awesome. I've seen I lost count of how many cash ins I've seen, but the Naomi cash in was done to perfection.
The Naomi cash in was perfect because you didn't expect it.
Right.
They built it perfectly. You're like, okay, so she's just going to cash in on Jade at, SummerSlam.
Yeah. Yes.
And then all of a sudden, here she comes in the main event of Evolution. You're like, wait a minute, what?
I enjoyed it. Like I said, the Io match was amazing. Rhea and Io, they're magical together. Now I know that Io's got another roadie she can go to with Stephanie Vaquer. Eventually, we're going to see Stephanie Vaquer versus Rhea. That's going to be a banger. And at some point, when she's healthy, because I do think this is what they want, we're going to want to see Bianca versus Rhea. We're going to want to see that match. And I don't know where Jade Cargill fits in all this, because the couple of times I've seen her in a ring with Tiffany Stratton, it's almost like being on the computer, and when your computer's laggy, their matches are kind of laggy. And maybe part of that is Tiff isn't that great as a face. and Jay is still finding her footing as an in-ring performer because she can be awkward at times. I know they're desperate to push her. I don't think she's ready.
Yeah, I was so caught off guard when they decided to announce that it would be Tiffany versus Jade versus Nia next week for this Friday for the SmackDown Women's Championship, which it's going to be a fun match. Don't get me wrong, all three ladies, are talented, but I'm just sitting there thinking like, okay, so Nia's lost like 3 or 4 times, for the women's title to Tiffany Stratton.
Right.
Same with Jade. Like, how, like, I was kind of shocked that they didn't go with some new faces in the women's title scene by now, but it just seems like we're stuck in a loop right now of just it's either Nia or Jade or nothing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And I always try to think ahead. So I'm thinking in my head, Stephanie Vacour versus Jade Cargill. I don't think that works. I think you can sell Stephanie against Tiff, but to what degree? Because they're both faces. And I don't know if I want to. I don't want to see Nia Jax versus Stephanie Vacour. That'll be a slow match because of Nia Jax. I think Nia Jax has a lane. I don't think I want to see her in the heavyweight picture anymore. That doesn't mean she can't be relevant, because she certainly can be. Maybe pair her with somebody and try to put her into the tag team division.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of those things with both Nia and Jade. Like, they're talented. I don't mind seeing them in title matches. It's just when I've seen this matchup 4 times already, I'm just like, okay, let's just move on to something new here. Like, you do have a talented women's division, or just call somebody up from NXT or something.
Oh my God, there's so many talented performers in NXT. Like that's the crazy part. They've done such a great job of development that there's people that are, I don't want to say they're on their bench, but that are in NXT that are ready to come to the main card, but because the main card is so loaded, where are you going to put them? Like, where are you going to put all these people? Like, I'm ready to see the big man come to the main card, but to his credit, what he said was that he's not in a rush to leave NXT because he's proud to be the NXT heavyweight. And I thought that was cool, Obafemi, to say that, because a lot of people wouldn't think that way. But I don't think he's rushing the process of going to the main roster.
And that's fair enough. Might as well be patient, wait until they have something concrete for you. We've seen too many times where they call up an NXT call up, and then that's just kind of it, because they didn't really plan for anything after the call up. So
look what they've done, or not. Look what they've not done with somebody who I think is incredibly talented. Look what they've done with Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, I don't think they'll. I hope they do something with him, but I'm not going to put my hopes in it at this point.
Right.
No,
go ahead.
I say somebody pitched the idea that Carmelo Hayes should be John Cena's last opponent because John Cena wants to put over younger talent. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, but get ready for that final match against like Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I don't get that one, putting him up against Carmelo. That's interesting. Carmelo Hayes just fizzled out on the main roster because they, like you said, they don't know what to do with him. At some point, they're going to have to make a decision on Trick Williams and some of the other people. Like that, there's no shortage of talent, but because you're so top heavy with those really big names at the top, I don't know where to go. Like, I would say this though, you could go old school. Back in the day, what made WCW really interesting, it wasn't the people on the top of the ticket. It was all the talent they had on the mid-card level, right? Like, remember, there was a time when Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Benoit were on the mid-card, and they were beasts. They were getting it. So I do think this is an opportunity to bolster up the mid-card.
Yeah, I'm saying the WCW Cruiserweight division is still legendary to this day. Other guys like Juventud Guerrera,
they're gonna,
and even like some other mid-card guys that, people randomly remember. Shout out to Buff Bagwell.
Oh no, Marcus Bagwell, Buff the stuff. I remember him. Yeah, like I said, it is important. I mean, obviously, your main event people, you want them to hold up their end. But if your mid card is loaded, like a lot of those guys were, that makes your overall talent pool that much better. And look, when they were doing those Monday Night Wars, one of WCW's fatal flaws was the older guys didn't want to step aside when they knew guys like Eddie Guerrero, Benoit, and them were ready for the next level, and it cost them.
Yeah, they instead wanted to quote-unquote share the spotlight. Like, yeah, you know what? They don't need to go over us. We'll just make them part of the NWO. That's good enough. 57 NWO members.
That had that had Hulk Hogan written all over. Hogan was like, make everybody NWO. Like, it got to the point where all the best wrestlers were members of the NWO. That was crazy.
Yeah, they gave them their own pay-per-view, which...
That's right. That's right.
By the way, if you are a big fan of the NWO theme song, go watch NWO Sold Out. And honestly, after you watch that pay-per-view, you might hate the NWO theme song because you hear it every single match. There's an NWO winner, there's an NWO ref, there's an NWO announcer, NWO beauty pageant in the middle of the show. Like, it is the most bizarre thing, and you just hear the NWO music so much that at the end you're just like, I hope I never hear this stupid song another day of my life.
Such a brilliant idea, and they bled it dry. Like they came up with this amazing idea of this faction of all factions, and they ran it into the ground by overkill.
Yeah, it's one of those things. That's almost what made the 90s and Attitude Era special. We can look at the top of the card, like even in WWF with guys like The Rock, Taker, Shawn, Triple H, and that's great and all. But the real key to it was you were just entertained throughout the entire card because it didn't matter where you were. You had something fun, whether it be like, maybe you're a big fan of William Regal in the middle of the card. You had an up-and-coming Kurt Angle.
That's right. William Regal. What's the other guy's name? You'll remember him. He's a member of the Nation Domination. It'll come to me. But he used to always make me laugh. He had this little strut he would do whenever he did a move. Hey, what is his name? D'Lo Brown.
D'Lo
was hilarious. But again, you hit on it, partner. That middle of the card, it's important. It's very important. I think that was one of the strengths of the Attitude Era.
No, absolutely. That was huge. That was huge because, I feel like that's what messed up the early 90s too. It really was that middle of the card. You had some solid main eventers in the lowest period in the early 90s, and they're obviously trying to make new stars. But at the same time, when you're middle of the card, and if you watch early 90s like WWF, it's really funny because it's straight up just everyday jobs they made into gimmicks. So they had garbage collectors. They had
what was his name? The Repo Man.
Shout out to the Repo Man.
The Repo Man. Erwin R. Shyster, right? Remember that?
Kane debuted as a dentist.
Yes. Yo. They were doing a lot of really simple stuff back then. They was wilding. And they had a lot of hits and misses too. I'll never forget the one. You can appreciate this. The guy that got out of prison. What was his name? Nails. That was so dumb. That was so dumb. Nails. That was dumb.
Oh, yeah. They definitely had some. Let's just say winners back in the day.
But they also had jobbers too, and I think jobbers are important.
I feel like the biggest thing about jobbers is they just got to own it, right? I think that's why you still have guys like that, like one of the favorites that just kept appearing. for the longest time, the Brooklyn Brawler.
Yes.
Say they had Kurt Hawkins. I think they had him do his like gimmick where he was just like losing every match, and it was all leading up to him and Zack Ryder winning the tag titles at like WrestleMania. I think it was 32. I think that's the biggest key about being a jobber. Just be entertaining and own it.
Yes.
And half the time, that's how a lot of people, get over when they're, jobbing, right? Like Chelsea Green, she's so entertaining, and it makes a lot of people forget that her return to WWE was her getting eliminated from 20 seconds in the Royal Rumble. And she kind of went on a losing streak after that, but she stuck with it, and she made the most of it, and she became so entertaining that she turned into the U.S. Women's Champion. So it's all about owning the moment.
She's a perfect example of somebody owning it and completely selling it. I can't remember her name. I was just watching her last night. The young lady from Alpha Academy.
Maxine.
She's another example of somebody she's kind of on the verge of becoming that in-between person where she's becoming more entertaining. I think you have to, everything shouldn't be so cutthroat and so serious. I think people that can make you laugh or smile are very important. What were the two guys that after all their matches, well, not all their matches, some of their matches, they would get in the ring and dance with Rikishi?
Too Cool.
That's it, Scotty. Yes, yeah. Those two. But you know what? Those little things go a long way.
No, absolutely. But it's some good news for Perth, Australia in a couple weeks, Mo. It's official. John Cena, AJ Styles. We did it. We bullied them into giving us what we wanted, finally.
I'm excited for it. I don't think they'll disappoint either.
If you need like a match if you've never seen these two, get in the ring together. If you're a new viewer or just got into WWE recently and you want to know why everybody's so excited to watch this match, Royal Rumble 2017. That's all I'm gonna say. Go back and watch John Cena versus AJ Styles. And that is where John Cena does win his 16th world title, tying Ric Flair for the record. And he does it in an instant classic. They had 3 matches. They had one at Money in the Bank that got interrupted by the Good Brothers, ended in a disqualification. They had an absolute classic at SummerSlam where AJ Styles won. And that match was so good. They announced this match for the Royal Rumble. You're like, there's no way these two can top what they just did at SummerSlam a couple of years ago. But then they do it. They just put together this 5-star technical masterpiece. They play each other's roles perfectly. They are just such perfect foils for each other.
Agreed.
And it just now, if they're looking for a big pay-per-view for the, ESPN era, Mo, this is your chance. I feel like you have to strike where the iron's hot here.
No, I agree.
You want to win the fan base back, give them what they want. They want to see AJ. You saw AJ Lee prancing around with the Intercontinental title and skipping. Okay, you know what? Book AJ versus Becky in France. I mean, not France, Australia. Say, we already got Cody versus Seth. Say, it's probably going to get Tiffany versus Stephanie Vakir. To me, that 4 alone is just an absolutely terrific card. Just give us some really good wrestling. And you are and they're already so close to being there that I feel like Perth is going to be such a slam dunk. I feel like they can't find a way to mess this one up.
I agree. I think that after WrestlePalooza, no, I think Perth, you're going to get a lot of bangers. You're going to get more than your money's worth, and I think the storylines will be tighter.
And you know what? I will say there's one guy I really want to see John Cena face on his retirement tour here. Because I saw the rumor, and I'm like, yes, let's do it. Rumors that one of the names being tossed around is indeed Dominic Mysterio. And I think he'd be such a perfect name to face John on his retirement tour.
Especially if Cena says he wants to elevate some younger talent. Dom is right there, man. I mean, he's gotten so much better in the ring. He's terrific. I like that idea because I think that Dom versus Cena, I think Dom would show out and surprise people just how good he really is.
Yeah, I'd say I wouldn't even mind. Say, I almost feel like his last match, I'm still liking him versus Gunther for his last match. I think that'd be a great way to, send John Cena out. But man, honestly, even if they went with like John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio for the IC title in his last match, I think that'd be terrific. Because I feel like even in that moment, it's realistic to have John Cena win and retire the Intercontinental Championship, which is obviously valuable because then he'd be a Grand Slam champion. The only thing he doesn't have for that accolade is the Intercontinental Championship. So I almost feel like that would be a great kind of build for his final match. Just, hey, he's got one shot at doing this. He either gets it or he doesn't. And Dominic, if there's somebody that can draw heat to himself for this final match.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that idea. I like Cena winning the one belt that's evaded him all this time, going out on that high note. And because he's a company guy, he'll win the title and then he'll turn around and walk away and surrender the belt.
Oh, absolutely. Or or you can just have him win it at Survivor Series. I do think it'd be a mistake to not let John Cena become a Grand Slam champion. Whether you let him, vacate the belt immediately after he wins it, or have him win it at Survivor Series and maybe put somebody over on his way out, which is probably how he'd want to do it. Which, by the way, Survivor Series being in San Diego, I know that's kind of where Rey Mysterio is from, and Dominic grew up, I think, in that area. So I think that'd be a huge match to have, right in front of all of Dom's friends and family too. So it feels like Survivor Series in San Diego just might be the perfect spot for that one-on-one matchup if we're going to do it. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. Look, as a fan, outside of the match I saw at WrestlePalooza, I've enjoyed the John Cena farewell tour. I hope he's got a couple of more bangers in him. I think he does. And I think one of them is going to be him and AJ Styles.
Oh, absolutely. Like, my entire gripe with the retirement tour has nothing to do with John Cena himself. It's really about the people booking the entire thing. Like, I actually think the retirement tour has been a lot better than people think. The way I see it, it's been good, which is kind of I feel like this should have been an all-time great. To me, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I think that's all that matters. But I get the frustration too, because it being good, it feels like it should have been an all-timer. This feels like the WWE writing team and creative team were handed like the keys. Like, all right, that'd be like if they were the coach of the 17 Warriors and they led them to 50-32 in a Western Conference Finals loss. Like, on the surface, that's good, but then you go, man, this should have been an all-timer. And that's kind of where I'm at with the John Cena retirement tour. But that being said, I've enjoyed it. It's had great moments. So That's all that matters. If you're happy with it, that's all that matters. That being said, Mo, that's all I really have for us today. Anything you want to add before we get up on out of here?
Oh, no, partner. Had a blast chopping it up, talking wrestling, a little AEW, WWE. We did a look forward. We talked about some things from the past. It always is fun and entertaining talking wrestling. And I appreciate the chat, all the energy coming from them, and whoever's watching us from whatever platform you're watching us on. Thank you guys so much.
No, absolutely. And you can catch Mo tomorrow on the morning show. Next time you see Mo and I together, Thursday night for And One. Look, we're going to be ranking every starting center in the league. I got the tier list all made up. It's going to be a lot of fun. That being said, we thank you for tuning in and have a great night.